Over the course of the past 2 years, Altimore and I devoted a lot of our attention to finding all of the faulty mechanics in Melee. Much of our work was recapped in a video I released in January, which was titled The Melee Community's Controller Crisis. The video went through the first 10 faulty mechanics we'd found up until that point. At the time, Altimore and I thought that we found everything, but surely enough, we were mistaken. As this year went on, Altimore and I managed to find a few more of the most well-hidden issues in the game. We covered wall jump in a video from this past June. Wall jump had proven to be the 11th faulty mechanic due to an issue that can arise when your character receives a frame of aerial drift before their wall jump pull. This issue flew under the radar because it will never occur when your character has made full contact with the wall. However, it can occur during niche situations such as Samus's wall jump grapple sequences. On Final Destination, for example, Samus is often subject to a sequence in which the last frame that's eligible for a wall jump pull suffers from the pulling issue. Altimore and I addressed this by applying a rollback style fix, which is similar to the fix we use for Jiraki wall jump. The 12th faulty mechanic that Altimore and I found was covered in August. The mechanic that was revealed within this video is down B. Down B is easily the least important of the faulty mechanic fixes, but it makes the cut nonetheless. The reason down B is in need of repair is because the single Y value of negative 0.55 doesn't produce a down B during grounded animation states. Believe it or not, this is because negative 0.55 is missing on the stick map due to a typo in the game's code. By correcting this typo and filling in the value, the issue I showed with down B is resolved. That brings us to today's faulty mechanic. I'm fairly confident that the mechanic I'll be covering today is the last faulty one in the game, and I don't think there could be a more fitting ending to the faulty mechanic series than this one. Something that people may recognize from TAS videos is Fox's ability to wave shine Marth through the use of swiftly executed running shines. However, what a lot of people don't know is that there's something unique about the running shines that are being performed in clips such as this one, which is why you don't see them in competitive play. Whenever people use the phrase running shine in competitive play, what they're almost always referring to is a sequence in which Fox runs, then shines out of crouch. The best possible frame data for this sequence involves dashing for 11 frames, entering run on the 12th frame, incurring a frame of run break, incurring a frame of squat, and then shining on frame 15. This is a staple technique for Fox players due to its consistency. However, there's an alternative method that's better in certain ways. What very few people know is that you can dash for 11 frames, enter run on frame 12, and then shine directly out of run on frame 13. This is the method that was shown in the clip in which Fox running shined Marth several times. There are 2 reasons this method is better in theory. The first is that it lets you shine 2 frames earlier since it skips the run break and squat frames that the other method needs. The second is that it lets you maintain the best possible acceleration prior to the shine frame. This is because run break and squat require you to decelerate on your analog stick, whereas shine out of run doesn't require you to do that. Despite the benefits of shine out of run that I just listed, there are reasons it isn't seen much in competitive play. The first reason is that it's more difficult to perform. This is because you have to press the B button on exactly the frame you transition from run to shine, or else shine out of run won't work. If you enter run break for even a frame, then you won't be able to shine out of that animation. To show what this looks like, here's a diagram of the analog stick's travel route hugging the bottom of the rim. The B button has to be pressed on exactly the frame you enter down B range in order for shine out of run to succeed. While this aspect of shine out of run makes it difficult, it's still fair and within reason. The next aspect of shine out of run, on the other hand, isn't fair at all. As you might have noticed when I first pulled up this diagram, the run range doesn't actually connect to the down B range. This is true for the up B and neutral B ranges as well. The X value of 0.6 is the threshold for side B, which means that there are 2 columns between these ranges which will produce that move instead. These columns can be thought of as useless, as you can already side B out of run by pressing the B button. The issue these columns create is that whenever you attempt to shine out of run, you're subject to being pulled atop them. This will lead to your character entering run break. As I mentioned earlier, specials can be performed out of run but not out of run break, which means that there's an unavoidable pulling issue. The running wave shine sequence against Marth can be considered TAS-only due to this pulling issue, as Fox has to run the risk of a run break pull every time he completes a repetition. This will unavoidably cause a repetition to fail for reasons which can't be controlled. The failure point in special out of run is unfair, and thus it ought to be addressed on a competitive patch. At that point, the question is whether it's better to increase the range for run or the special attacks themselves. The reason it isn't viable to increase the range for run is because doing so would shift the actuation point of a desired run break input. If someone wanted to make it to run break, for example, then it would take them longer to do so if the run range was widened. Thus, it's better to widen the ranges for neutral B and vertical B by 2 values. This lets them connect to the run range without creating any side effects. The fix that I described in this video has been added to 1.03 as of this video's release. This rounds out the 1.03 controller fix at a total of 13 mechanics. We also added a controller fix rotator to support the gradual adoption suggestion that I've raised in some of my recent videos. The rotator lets you choose from controller fix A through D in order to gradually apply the fixes. I've gone over the categorization of these fixes in some of my box legality videos, but I'll provide a brief recap. The fix that I've listed as A is notable in that it's very similar to UCF. Controller fix A contains dashback and wiggle fixes that are identical to the ones on UCF. However, its shield drop and 1.0 cardinal fixes are improved. My box legality videos have explained the importance of correcting the arbitrary ranges UCF uses for these mechanics into the maximized ones that are being shown on the right. I believe that this is the best first step for the Melee community to take in order to resolve its controller legality issues, as it would prove that the software route is the cleanest route for doing so. The box nerfs that have been proposed by the Rule Set Committee haven't been well received for a variety of reasons, and so if we're to take the approach of buffing the Gamecube controller instead, then Controller Fix A is a great start. The next set of fixes is Controller Fix B. These are the less well-known mechanics that the box has an advantage in which make a meaningful impact. I've emphasized in some of my videos that if Controller Fix B or onward is used, then the process of equalizing the two controllers is for the most part complete. Next up is Controller Fix C. As you might have noticed, I placed Special Out of Run in this category. I consider Special Out of Run to be the most important fix in this category, which for the most part consists of obscure fixes. Nothing in here is too impactful, but these mechanics should still be fixed nonetheless. Finally, Controller Fix D increases the timing of dash out of crouch to 3 frames. This is a contentious fix which belongs in its own category due to the fact that it's the only fix the box doesn't plug in with. I'm personally in favor of legalizing this fix despite the fact that it benefits both controllers, as it still meets the criteria for being a faulty mechanic. With regards to the status of the 1.03 project, there are just a few things that aren't complete yet. Currently, the wall jump fix isn't functional, a visual asset within the debug mode portal isn't functional on console, the Slippy menu hasn't been completed on Dolphin, and there are still a few very rare crash sources on console. Our next update will look to knock out the first 3 things that I listed, at which point we'll be down to just crash sources. Other than that, the latest version of 1.03 is perfectly functional and usable. Something fun that you can do with this version is practice Special Out of Run without it being subject to the polling issue that I showed. This has never been possible on a Gamecube controller until now, so I recommend trying it out. I provided a download link to the latest version of 1.03 in this video's description, and it'll also ship with memory card orders from here on out. With that being said, thanks for checking out the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of Melee content. One last thing I ought to mention is that I plan to stream the usage of this ISO fairly often from here on out, so make sure to check out my Twitch channel as well.